3DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
It's a fabulous Friday, really is, because it's the beginning of high school football. Glenn Rogers Jr. back in the fold with us. You know, I signed him years ago to a lifetime contract. The assistant coach at MUS for many, many, many years, former Tiger, former CFL champion. Glenn Rogers Jr. joins us in really about 5, 6, 7 minutes or so. The Grizzlies schedule is now official. We know. We'll get to that in just a second. And one more Tiger piece is official. David Jones, who was really a solid player in the Big East at St. John's, who helped the Dominican national team beat Memphis a few weeks ago.
He looked good, too, in that game.
Signed his papers. He'll be on campus soon. All sorts of stories about, is Malcolm Dandridge in? So I heard that Malcolm Dandridge, like, he's officially enrolled in school, but so is KO. So I don't really know what the status there is. Maybe Brian Dacus does, though, and he'll join us, as he always does, for the last segment of the week. So we're busy. Let's get into the Grizzlies schedule right away. So one of the things everybody was afraid of. David Stern is not very happy. Oh, David Stern. Adam Silver is not very happy with the Grizzlies, and in particular Ja, and they're going to pay a price. They didn't pay a price. Not at all. They are down in national TV games, 13 from 18, 6 on NBA TV. But guess what? Part of that is that Ja doesn't come in until after game 25. Only one of the 13 games that they have is prior to his 25-game suspension being over.
Is that the tournament game, I'm guessing?
I believe it is.
I think that's right.
And that's in November. I'm almost certain it is. So, really, I don't think it's tough. I don't think they were harsh. I think they said, we know he's a superstar. And once he's back, look, the very first game he's back, December the 19th in New Orleans, TNT game.
The return. And that's a good marquee matchup for TV as well, with pitting Zion and Ja against each other. I'm pretty sure going to be a matchup. As long as both those guys play in the league, they're going to be pitted against one another. They
didn't get Christmas Day. That's the one sort of maybe penalty because he was eligible by then. But there is no Christmas Day. But I thought they gave a very good Martin Luther King Day. It's home. It's against Golden State. It's a 5 o'clock game, which is 6 o'clock Eastern. Big, I think a good window. And it's on TNT. So you're going to have the big studio show as the prelim and everything else. I think it's good. Less back-to-backs, it seems to me. There's only 1, 3, and 4. That is in December. You're opening up at home. In fact, the first 2 games are at home. And you got New Orleans because that is going to be the great rivalry, right? Zion. And is Zion going to play this year?
Well, that's the $100,000 question, I guess.
I do believe New Orleans tried to make a move with him. I think they tried to get rid of him.
Those were the rumors at the time.
But
it's hard to say.
People don't want to take a chance. I mean, if the guy is healthy, he can play.
Well, and I think we can officially say at this point he has been a problem in New Orleans. His rookie season, he got the head coach Stan Van Gundy fired. And so you could say, well, it was just a clash of old culture versus new culture. That's even how Stan himself puts it. But now you're seeing that, he wants to do things kind of his way. Maybe he was healthy to play and didn't come back and play for a certain time at the end of the season last year. So I think undoubtedly he's looked at in that organization as a problem at this point.
Here's my thing about him. He's a very unique body type. The thing is, to be as effective as he is at that weight with that speed and agility, it's incredible. However, to stay at that weight, you are accident prone. You are injury prone. You can't play. How many games has he's missed? More games as a pro than he's played.
With that play style too, it's almost arrogant to me to come into the league and not think you need to adapt your body in any way. Look at Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Sure, no question. That same thing's going to be for
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama. The problem is for him to remain this unique, unstoppable force, he might have to stay at this weight. He can't play that many games at this weight because his body breaks down. Will he be the same guy if he loses a bunch of weight? That we don't know.
Or goes the other way, puts on a bunch and starts playing center. Is he big enough to play physically as a big center five? Probably not. So
I don't think he is.
You can only go one way, and that probably is the way you're talking about.
So that's a question mark, and I think New Orleans has recognized that, but there aren't that many takers. In the meantime, we know how good Ja is going to be. So just some quick thoughts about this whole thing. I thought it was a pretty gentle schedule. They've got let's see, the in-season tournament starts November the 3rd at Portland. We already knew that. They're opening up at home. I like that. They got 9 games at home in November. So this is when Ja's not playing. You want as many home games as you can get. And so that, to me, was good. Dylan Brooks in Houston will come in December. Tyus Jones in Washington, although they'll play them in Washington early, I think, 3rd game of the year. Tyus Jones doesn't come here till March. Right?
That's right. And they got 2 games with Houston on the road, I think, before that one at home. So lots of Dylan Brooks revenge chances early in the season.
I think this was actually a fairly gentle thing. The schedule. Longest road trip, 4 days, 4 games, 8 days, March 18th through the 25th, so you're well into the season. They have 7 games on the road that month, 15 games total. The longest homestand, 3 games, 6 days. That is in November before Ja.
I tell you another.
So you're still healthy, fresh.
Another thing that stood out to me too is I just mentioned the Rockets 3 times early, the Jazz 3 times early. They're going to be good, but a team that you've really struggled against that you've had Ja has been the Mavericks since they've had Luka as well. And you got the Mavericks all 4 times before January 11th is the last meeting.
I don't know why they do that.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't get it really. That's a lot of early matchups, but people aren't even watching the NBA a lot of times until Christmas Day even, and all those matchups with the Mavs are going to be done at that point.
That is almost like opening, which is part of the reason why I think they decided and opted to go with this in-season tournament in November. It is to bring more attention early on because I think you're right. For a lot of people, the season doesn't truly begin until Christmas. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. A reminder, at least through this month, and then it'll change. But we've got the clearance sale for summer. They want to clear the inventory for the fall stuff. All do-it-yourself pools $1,000 off. Special 24-foot round pools less than $2,000. Select play gyms under $1,900. Patio furniture 30% off. There's 24 months, same as cash financing. During this sale, don't miss it. At I-40 and Wooden Road, Family Leisure, where sales and family and fun, they all come together. Our title sponsor is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. That is chock full right now of inventory, pre-owned or brand new beautiful Hyundais or Genesis cars, and you still have this deal at least through the end of this month. If you want to finance to get a G70 with the Genesis people, you will get a $1,000 rebate. And they got plenty of Genesis cars, including the new SUVs, on the lot. Go see Chris True and all the gang. They've been around for 20 years together. What a team. What great customer retention. Because you know, if you go to the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78, that's Lamar in Memphis, you will be taken care of. That's the beauty of Homer Skelton Hyundai. Well, we signed him up for a lifetime contract, I don't know how many years ago, and the partnership continues. Our coach, Glenn Rogers Jr. from MUS, joins us every Friday to talk high school football, and it's here. What's your favorite storyline for this season to begin 2023, Glenn Rogers Jr.?
Good morning, Dave, and all our listeners. I tell you, Dave, I'm very, very excited. We've been doing this a long time, my friend, and man, look, it's football in the air, man. It's an exciting time for all these coaches and players and the parents. I'm just thrilled, Dave, to get this season kicked off because I think it's going to be a fun year for us over here in the U.S.
The Dandy Dozen is interesting. Now there's two. John Varlas does one, and the Commercial Appeal does 10. You're in both, sort of middle of the pack. In the Varlas Dandy Dozen, there is no Whitehaven. I couldn't believe that. A lot of interesting games. To in both of the polls, Germantown, Gene Robinson, your buddy, they're number one. They already knocked off somebody big in this very first game. I guess that was last night. What's your sense?
They beat Raleigh Egypt.
So who do you think is the best team in the area? Do you agree with Varlas? And
well, when you talk about Gene Robinson and what he's done the last couple of years, David, Germantown, I've said this before. Gene Robinson is one of the best young coaches in this country. He's a bright mind. He was a all academic ACC guy in North Carolina. He was all academic at Whitehaven, along with his talents on the football field. And when you got a kid like Daniel Anderson, a defensive end that's committed to North Carolina, where Gene's alma mater, and you got an outside linebacker, DJ Allen's committed to UCF, and Dave, the glue to that team, the train, the engine that runs the train is Jamario Morrow. He's an athlete. And you talking about he's got Bama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Oregon. This kid is electrifying every time he touches the ball. So I agree with John. To me, Germantown, is probably from top to bottom one of the best teams in this city, in this area.
Who are some of the other teams that you think are just fantastic, that you would have up high on your list?
Well, I'm gonna start with us because we have Brandon Nicholson. He's our big gun. We lost Deion Stutz over the summer. He was our mainstay on defense, our best player to an accident, ATV accident. He was committed to Arkansas, and Brandon Nicholson is committed to Stanford. And then T. Perry, our running back, he's got a lot of mid-major offers, and Gavin Helton as well, our outside linebacker. And then Hudson Schultz, our middle linebacker, he's committed to play baseball, but you're talking about a heck of an athlete, that middle linebacker who's athletic and can run. So I think our team is going to be fine on defense. Offensive, we got to find our way with our quarterback, Brady Hughes. But then I look at Collierville with Joe Riccone. And you start at the quarterback position with Aiden Glover, who's a Missouri commit. He was an MUSI for 4 years, transferred his sophomore year. But he's the number one rated quarterback in the state. A Missouri commit. Aiden's 6'3.5", 6'4", about 205 tall, and he's a dual threat, can do everything. And then he's throwing to Damon Dotson's son, Dave, Joe Kim Dotson, who's got Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Purdue. And then they got a tight end that's Eli Sissons, Liberty, Memphis, Arkansas State. And then he's got a big guy protecting his blind side in Robert Perdon, who's got Duke, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, and Florida State. So you got to put Collierville up there high. And then Bartlett, the team we play tonight.
Well, I was going to go there because they got a brand new coach, Chris Smith, who had come from a great run, 4 years at Brownsville Haywood.
And then he was at Germantown prior to that.
And that is correct. So
yeah, and he coached in the All-Star game too, Dave. The Liberty Bowl All-Star game as well. So
and he's got Devin Rutherford. He's got Devin Rutherford Jr. We all know where is his dad? Where's Devin Rutherford Sr. these days?
I think Devin is out of the coaching business. I think he's I know for sure he's out of the coaching business. I think he's got his own business on the side, HVAC business. Business. I think.
I see.
But his son, Devin Rutherford Jr., he's a two-way player. He's a shutdown type cornerback. He plays wide receiver, so he'll be amazing tonight. They got two big-time receivers on the outside. They got a little scat back, and they got a guy that can get them the ball. You know, defensively, Chris Smith, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to bring people. They got Lance Taylor from a transfer from Mars at middle linebacker offers. So we're going to have our hands full tonight. It should be an exciting atmosphere over here at Old Dogs. Partly to bring a nice fan base. Tim Jones, my former Tiger teammate, is still out there in the Bartlett community. So I'm excited about the game tonight.
Yeah, Tim Jones is interesting because he's one of the few guys I've ever seen. He left being a principal to become the head of athletics for the whole Bartlett region, right? District.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is interesting.
That is interesting because Bartlett and Collierville are two of the largest schools in the state of Tennessee.
Do you have any idea about why Whitehaven is not in Varlas's, although it's in the commercial appeals top 10, what's happened to Rodney Salisbury's team this year?
Well, I tell you, Rodney is going through some growing pains like most of the city school coaches. We have COVID. It puts a damper on things, but we scrimmage Whitehaven. They're young. They're very talented. He's got a left guard, Dave, by the name of Tracy Jackson, who's 6'4" and 285, and he's got a right guard, Calvin Booth Nelson, 6'7", 330. And I'm going to tell you, Tracy Jackson, Dave, is one of the best offensive linemen I've seen in a long time. He gave us everything that we can have and more. And Hudson Schoaf, our middle linebacker, is very athletic, very physical, said, Coach, he's the best offensive lineman I've ever faced, besides Patrick Kudus at Christian Brothers, who's going to start at Arkansas this year. So Rodney has some talent, but I think, COVID put a lot of damp on the city school kids for being out for 2 years. Don't ever, ever, ever think that Whitehaven cupboard is not bare. It's full, and it's full to the brim. And I think, the teams that Whitehaven going to face, they're going to see that.
There are so many good games tonight. One team we have not mentioned yet that's in both polls, that's Mays. They're taking on another team that's in both polls. That is Lausanne. You're talking about two great coaches with great records going up against one another.
Yeah, Cedric Miller and Kevin LeCastro and, former Tiger Chris Jordan, DC at Lausanne. That's going to be one of the best games. I'm going to try to keep an eye on that because, Ced is a big physical team. They like to pound you, hit you in the mouth. And then, and Kevin's a defensive-minded guy. And Chris Jordan runs a good defensive scheme. And so that's going to be a very interesting game tonight over at Lausanne. It should be a big crowd and a nice – all these atmospheres tonight should be amazing because the weather's going to cooperate. It'll be a little hot early on. But I tell you, Dave, all the coaches I've talked to over this past couple of weeks over the summer, everybody's excited that football is back. And even with the city schools, with 2 years under their belt now past COVID, everybody's excited to get things rolling.
Tell me a little bit about how you think that game will end up, Mays and Lausanne. I'm not going to ask you about Bartlett and MUS, which is one of the key games of the week for obvious reasons, but you can tell me about Mays and Lausanne.
Well, I'll tell you, the Mays and Lausanne game is going to come down to who can control the line of scrimmage, who can get key stops, and special teams, as we always said, is the key. Which team has the better kicking game? I probably would give that nod to Lausanne. But I tell you, Dave, when you look at Mace, the big physical offensive line that they have, the skilled guys they have, it's going to be a tough out for Lausanne. I think it'll be a close game, but I'm picking Mace to come out in the squeaker because I think they'll have a few tricks up their sleeve for Lausanne. But it'll be a great ball game. But I think Mays will squeak it out toward the end.
White Station.
And I tell you, one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing we haven't mentioned, Dave, that is going to be on everybody's radar this year is going to be Southwind. They are loaded. Yeah, Coach Griffin's squad is loaded.
That's where Cedric Miller came from, right? Before he took over Mays?
Yeah. He was at Southwind, and Coach Griffin, who was at Wooddale and Hamilton, came over to Southwind, and you can see he's slowly been building that program, and so that's another team that's going to be on the rise this year. We better keep a lookout for.
How about these two coaches? Again, both veterans, both incredible leaders of men. Central and Whitehaven, Major Right, Rodney Salisbury. We mentioned Whitehaven. Central's not getting mentioned in any of the polls. What kind of a game is that going to be?
Well, Mace's got a good young squad. He's got a lot of kids, first, second-year guys. But I'll tell you, Major Right has speed out the woodworks. I mean, he's got speed all across the board. His track team was one of the best track teams in the state. And so was Rodney's. Rodney has a receiver that's a burner. He can fly. He can run all the routes from the route tree. And I just talked about his both of his guards. And so I think that game will be tough early on, but I'm looking at Whitehaven to squeeze it out. I think Rodney has enough players, enough gas in the tank that he'll pull out the victory tonight against a tough Central team. That'll be a tough out.
Christian Brothers at home against White Station. There will be a big crowd on Walnut Grove there by 2:40. What happens there?
And, Thomas McDaniel, he's done an excellent job since arriving over at Christian Brothers. The fan base will be excited tonight. White Station going through a lot of growing pains. I think they've had 4 or 5 coaches over the last couple of years. Nobody's really stuck there since Joe Riccone and before him, Devin Rutherford. A lot of turnover there. A young team. I know Jeff Sawyer, my former Tiger teammate, helps out over there. But I'm going to get a nod to Christian Brothers. I think Christian Brothers, they got a big physical running game. A little scat guy at the slot, and he plays running back as well. Christian Brothers gets knocked. Their defense will be tough, and offensively they'll be able to pound the ball and get there a little quick out in space.
Melrose came back last year to prominence. We've been waiting. Pride of Orange Mound. They are at East in this one. East, another powerhouse, 2 great public school showdowns here. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, I tell you, Dave, Derek Bobo, just remember that name. Another bright young coach in his area. He's from the Whitehaven coaching tree from Rodney Salisbury. He was a DC over there when Gene Robinson left. But Derek Bobo is the new head coach at Melrose. They went 9-1 last year. We see them next week over here at Hull Dobbs. Derek, we know he's going to be aggressive on defense. He's going to bring one more than you can block. Offensively, he's going to spread you out and get the ball to his playmakers. And I tell you, you can see East just took a dip. They've taken a dip in the football program, and I tell you, Dave, Melrose is back on the rise. You're going to start seeing huge crowds over there like in the past because they have a good young coaching staff. Derek Bobo and his staff, they've done an amazing job of rallying getting the pride back in that neighborhood and rallying those kids around that neighborhood and that school. And so you're going to see the huge crowds back over there on Park Avenue at Melrose Stadium.
Love it. Love that we're back in with high school football. Good luck to you guys tonight. Look forward to our conversations all year long, Glenn. We're underway.
Absolutely, my friend. And go Owls and go Tigers, go.
There you go. That's Glenn Rogers Jr., brought to you in part by Shell Dunn. Man, there's 2 people that are really good at what they do. Glenn Rogers Jr. and, of course, Shell Dunn. There's nobody better than him. In fact, nothing is more gratifying, and he'll tell you this himself, when your peers, your professional peers, call and ask for your help. It's what's happened over the years with Sheldon. People who've retired asked for Sheldon to sell their former real estate properties. He's got a great reputation. I mean, it's years. And that strategy, which has been developed over the years and all the experience, it all comes into play. There's a reason why he's got this incredible reputation. He gets the job done. That's why they call him Sheldon. He's the quickest guy to get you to the closing table, and he does it at the price that you will get the most. And it all comes back to working the strategy 365, 24/7. That's what he does. He's a terrible golfer, he'll tell you that, because he's always working on that highly successful strategic marketing program. You got to be flexible with that. Things change. He keeps up. That's why things sell. Go to MemphisRelocate.com. Relocate's in there for a reason, and you'll see. Then call 483-0546. 483-0546. Get that house sold. Get the job done. Do it with Sheldon from Mark's Bensdorf. And this portion of the show is brought to you by the good folks at Grind City Brewing. That's all Memphis. Another taste of Memphis. This was the dream of a father and son, which became a reality, and now it's just a thriving, beautiful business with great quality products. You all know about Poppy's Pills, what the doctor ordered. That's the Pilsner. That's their biggest seller. But folks love the Pale Ale, the Godhopper. 2 new products this year, the Amber Lager called Thaddeus, and this Belgian-style wheat ale, kind of like Blue Moon. That's the Belga. Big-time stuff. There's the wonderful, wonderful Tiger Tail. That's the craft malt liquor that's unlike any malt liquor you've ever had. So many great products. You can get them all over town, like at the Spirit Shop, Poplar and St. Nick, or, honestly, you can go downtown to the Grind City Brewery. That's a cool experience. Check it all out. You'll love A Taste of Memphis, all Memphis, Grind City Brewing. Back in just a minute. To Chicago we go. Andy Schiffman standing by, the NBA schedule, and a whole lot more. That's next.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I have got an idea for a movie tie-in for Central Barbecue.
I don't like where this is going.
The Central Barbecue Oppenheimer Special. It's an explosion of flavor.
No.
So, Central Barbecue's ribs are the bomb?
No. Plus, Central Barbecue doesn't need that kind of promotion. Central Barbecue's food is the promotion.
Central Barbecue's hot sauce is
I'm telling you, Central Barbecue has always sold itself because you can't get better barbecue anywhere.
So, it's the Oppenheimer thing. All right, well, how about you can't spell barbecue without Barbie?
But you can.
Steve is a real Prevagen user and paid testimonialist.
Hi, I'm Steve, and I live in Austin, Texas. I work as a personal assistant to the owner of a large manufacturing firm. I've got anywhere from 10 to 50 projects going at any given time. I absolutely have to be sharp. 5 years ago is when I started to notice I started making mistakes. My memory was not nearly as sharp as it had been. I was confiding in my friend about the problems I was having with my memory, and she said, Stephen, you've got to try Prevagen. After a period of time of taking Prevagen, my memory was getting better, and I started to feel a much better sense of well-being. If you're experiencing what I was experiencing, try it. I really believe that it's going to have tremendous effects for you, just like it did for me.
Prevagen, healthier brain, better life. Prevagen is available in stores everywhere, based on a clinical study of subgroups of individuals who were cognitively normal or mildly impaired.
These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
You want the hottest summer deals in the Mid-South? We got it at Gossett Kia on the Pike. 41 MPG Highway, we got it in 2023 Kia Forte LXS. $249 a month, $29.99 due at signing. Get SUV action in 2023 Nero EV Wind. 253 miles of EPA estimated range. $292 a month, $49.99 due at signing. Or 2023 Kia EV6 Wind with up to 134 city, 101 highway MPGE. Only $425 a month, $49.99 due at signing. All 36-month leases. Plus, Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Ask for Bobby J. He's ready to put you in a new Kia today. Gossett Kia, 1900 Covington Pike, or online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 650 acquisition fee, 30,000 miles, 20 cents excess mileage. Forte PE 659,993. MSRP 22,540. Nero P 501,5237. MSRP 41,390. EV6 P 560,3393. MSRP 50,200. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for details. Offer valid through 9523. Dealer stock only. Warranties a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The NBA with Andy Schiffman in a minute. He's brought to you by the Afflin Insurance Team. That's collaboration. You know, when Andy's meeting with clients, they talk about what their needs are, how their future is going to be. That's exactly the way Matt Afflin and his crew do insurance. They'll get to know your family, what's important to you, what your budget is, and then they'll protect you with the perfect auto or life or home insurance program. Same thing with small to mid-sized businesses. That's their specialty. They get to know your product, who your employees are, what your budget is. They'll forecast out your business, and then they protect you. All you got to do is make the call. It's simple. 901-386-4777. That spells out GUR because they're big Tiger fans. That's the Eflin Insurance team collaborating with you to get you the best protection. To Chicago we go. The NBA released its schedule yesterday. Andy Schiffman, our agent from Priority Sports, I thought they were very kind to the Memphis Grizzlies. A lot of people thought, they were going to really come down on Memphis because of the Ja deal. I think they were okay. Less national games, but a lot when Ja comes back. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. Yeah, how many nationally televised games?
13.
13. Yeah, that's great.
13 down from 18, but only one before Ja comes back.
Before Ja returns, right. Well, look, I think this season the hype is all about Victor Wembanyama, obviously. His debuts against the Mavericks on October 25th. Everyone's going to be – I'm very interested to see the ratings on that night for the NBA with everyone tuning in. And really – how much Victor plays in that game, too, because you got to think that's the matchup where Dallas is just going to completely destroy San Antonio. So if that game ends up being too far gone by the fourth quarter, how much are you going to see Luka? How much are you going to see Victor? So I'm excited for that one. Obviously, as you noted, the season kicks off on October 24th. A couple great games on that night, so it should be interesting. I'm excited. It makes it more real. You know what I mean?
MLK has become a major thing January 15th. Other than Christmas Day, they got a lot of games, obviously. Memphis didn't make that one this time, and Ja will be back. But they've got Golden State at home at 5 o'clock on TNT. That is really good. But there are 11 games set. They have really made MLK Day about as big as Christmas Day for the league.
They have, and I really appreciate the fact that they have branched out to additional cities. I know Atlanta's gotten more involved, and I think you'll continue to see that. Why just relegate it to Memphis and Atlanta when so many NBA cities could benefit from playing on MLK Day and nationally televised games? So I think over time this will continue to expand into, as you said, a big enough NBA televised game event just like Christmas Day. So I'm excited. Those games are always fun. For me, growing up in Memphis and going to the MLK games in Memphis during the day, that was always fun as well. So it'll be interesting to see what other cities the league decides to branch out to in future years.
Memphis also got left out of Rivals Week, but to me, I think this whole thing is contrived. I don't really buy it. Okay, so the first couple of games, New York at Brooklyn, well, that makes sense. That's the Knicks going across the bridge. All right, Lakers and Clippers, okay, same building, got that. Oak City at San Antonio, Phoenix at Dallas, those are big rivals?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, look, I like the in-season tournament. I'm sure we can talk about that. But you're trying to make this Rivals Week just like you see in college football or college basketball. It works in college sports because that's maybe the only time a team is going to play in that city. You're talking about games once, maybe twice a week at basketball. Obviously, football, not as many games. And you got 82 games in the NBA, and you're going to sit there and call it just a regular part of the schedule, Rivals Week. I think it's superfluous. Not every team has a rival. Who would Memphis be? Would it be Golden State? I think the whole notion of San Antonio, that's kind of too far removed at this point.
Right. I think they're trying. I think they're trying to make it Zion and Ja and New Orleans.
Yeah, it's just too far reaching. Just stop it at that. You want to sit there and pit these quote unquote rival teams, Lakers, Clippers, even if you want to say like Spurs, Mavericks within the same state, as you mentioned, the Nets, Knicks, do that. Highlight that maybe around Christmas time or just at some point during the season, but to sit there and call it rivalry, it's comical, whatever. It doesn't really move the needle one way or the other. I'm really shifting gears. I'm really interested to see the ratings for the in-season tournament and how that plays out. I think that's going to draw a lot of fans to the NBA. I think the players will enjoy it, and I think that's a really good move because we've talked about it before, right? You see that a lot, these in-season tournaments, in-season cups, if you will.
Soccer.
In European basketball and soccer, but not every team plays in similar to the NBA. Not every team is going to be playing in this in-season tournament as you move through the season and get into the playoffs and the groups. So just a little added competition in season. In a long season where a lot of fans do not think games in November, in December really matter. So I applaud the NBA for this move.
We speculated a little earlier. The timing of this, starting November the 3rd, seems to me the NBA has said, you know what, we don't really get ratings until Christmas. That's like opening day, really, for many fans. We got to get them somehow involved earlier, even with football in full swing. We got to figure out a way. Is that what this is?
Absolutely. I've sat in on meetings with the Players Association over the last year as well, Dave, and that's the exact point they brought up, is we are competing with college football, with the NFL season, how people really don't start tuning in on a nightly basis to the NBA until you get really after the Super Bowl, after the NBA trade deadline into the playoffs, and the NBA wants that across the board for the whole season. They're not going to get that, but at least ratings, I'd like to think theoretically they should increase. More people will attend games and tune in. In my opinion, for this in-season tournament, are they going to sit there and compete with the NFL and compete with college football and really be on the same level? Probably not, but you're at least narrowing the gap just a little bit.
I don't know how this is going to work, really. I don't think those first 4 games that are really a part of the regular season, even though you're grouped, I don't think that's going to move the needle. Now, when you get to elimination, that's the key, right? When you get to the knockout round and one team moves on the other, that's drama, and that usually means it'll move the needle. So I'll wait and see how those games go to see if this is going to work. I don't remember an All-Star break. 5 days? Is that longer than usual? February 16th through the 21st, no basketball.
No, that's pretty on par. You know, they usually they finish a game, let's call it maybe on like the games that week on a Wednesday, let's say, and then you have a day of absolutely no events. Then you get into that Friday where you have the rookie, sophomore, rising stars game. Everyone's there at the All-Star festivities, and then you have All-Star Saturday night, then you got the game on Sunday, then the next day, or usually the next 2 days off, because keep in mind, the majority of the NBA players are not there at All-Star weekend. They use that time to get away. 100% they do. And so I'm sure a lot of players would probably request there be a bit of a longer break, up to a week, but you're not going to see that. So no, I think this is right on point with the typical time frame for an All-Star break.
And again, there are a couple of out-of-market games. Atlanta will play Orlando and Mexico City. That is November the 9th. Brooklyn and Cleveland will play in Paris on January 11th. Do you ever think in my lifetime, maybe yours, but in my lifetime, that I'll see a team in Mexico City or Paris?
I think we could.
Really?
I don't really know why they're picking these teams. I don't know. How are you not going to have Victor and the Spurs return to France at some point in time during his rookie year? I think you could pick some better, well, at least on paper, some better, more competitive teams to drum up interest. I don't know if people outside the U.S. are flocking to Mexico City or flocking to Paris to see those teams you mentioned, Atlanta, Orlando. I forgot who said the other one was Nets. But look, I mean, it's great for the game of basketball to globalize the game. You've seen that. Baseball did that this year. Remember the Cardinals-Cubs played in London. I know football's done that now for a few seasons. So at some point in time, with technology advancing in terms of the ability to watch games, travel is the biggest issue, obviously, for these teams. I do think you're going to eventually see a pro sports team. Maybe it's not NBA, Dave, but you're going to see a professional sports team based in the U.S. playing games or playing games in that league in a Mexico City in appearance. It keeps being talked about, but I have to believe in today's world they're going to figure out how to make it work. Like I said, the biggest obstacle, in my opinion, is travel. If you're an NBA team and you're playing in France and you're talking about, like, you're maybe going over to the U.S. to play 2 or 3 games in the U.S. during the week, and then you come back, and how's that going to work? How much time do you need off before your next game? Domestic teams here in the U.S. flying over to France to play. How many games you're going to play over there? You'll see the season drag out for more than roughly 170 days like it is now, if that were to happen. And so, again, this is all contingent on discussions with the Players Association's league. But me personally, Dave, I do think we'll see it.
I'm going to Mexico City later this year, so I'll know better a sense of geography. But it would seem to me, if you're going San Antonio or Dallas to Mexico City, got to be a lot closer than, let's say, Florida, Miami
Absolutely.
to
Boston,
Portland, Oregon.
Toronto. Absolutely. So maybe I don't know how it works. Maybe they don't include every team playing those road games there to start, just to see how the travel is. You got to mitigate that concern. But like I said, you look at the evolution of the NBA over the last 30-plus years, think about the expansion teams, think about how the game has grown internationally, the popularity of superstars all the way to Australia and China, and the partnership that the NBA now has throughout the world, and playing preseason games overseas, playing preseason games against European and Australian teams here in the U.S. That's what makes me believe that we will see an NBA team outside of the U.S. I don't know when that will be, but I think it'll happen.
He's Andy Schiffman. We talk to him every Friday on the NBA. The NBA is never off, even though they're going to be off Election Day again this year and everything else. Thank you, my friend. We'll chat next Friday. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
That's Andy Schiffman on the NBA's, brought to you by Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. If you've got a problem, 384-3511. If you've got a sewer issue, 384-3511. If you want your tune-up, 384-3511. If you want a tankless water heater, 384-3511. They come to the rescue for everything. They're the good folks. They got a comfort club, so many different ways. They can help you. 384-3511, Conway Services. Did anybody, J-Mo, pick Chris Kirk yesterday?
No, he's my guy, though. I can't.
He's your guy. You know he's 3 under today, 7 under. They're eating up Olympia Fields in Chicago. 7 under. Clark, he's now 5 under. There's another guy you love, Wyndham Clark, the U.S. Open champion.
2 days, that's
McIlroy,
right.
Harmon, they're still at 5 under. They haven't even teed off yet. Scotty Scheffler, he's at 4 under. Ricky Fowler had a good day yesterday. We'll be keeping our eye on that. None of my guys have done well. You know who I wouldn't mind seeing win one of these things? I love this dude, too. Sahith Theegala. I walked, not this year, the year before, Southwind with his family. It was so much fun. He's a good dude. He's not really broken through yet, but he's due at some point.
I agree. He turned it on kind of down the stretch of this tournament, too, so maybe he's getting in good form here to play well.
He's got that Tony Finau, Vijay Singh kind of look, right?
A big guy.
Big guy, really smooth, really good. Speaking of really good, really smooth, that's Brian Dacus. We got some questions. What's this thing with Melco? David Jones now, it looks like he's in the fold. What's happening with the Tigers? Brian Dacus has your answers in just a minute.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Show sponsored by BetterHelp. A therapist can help you map out the life path you really want, so you trust yourself to make great choices. Feel excited about the future. BetterHelp offers convenient professional online therapy on your schedule by phone, chat, or video call. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Herd. Sign up today, 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Herd.
Your favorite Italian pasta company and deli, Lucchese's, now ships. For over 25 years, Memphis has trusted Lucchese's to feed their loved ones, and now they've crafted 3 great comfort food meals that can be shipped across the country to your friends and family. Enjoy lasagna, ravioli, spaghetti, Italian spinach, and delicious sauces with no MSG, no preservatives, and no artificial colors. All you need to do is go to lucchese's.com to place your order or call 901-766-9922.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Lonely feeling deep inside. Find a corner where I can hide. Silent footsteps crowding me. Sudden darkness, but I can see.
Just a little weather warning. It's going to get hot this weekend. You might want to beat the heat today. Take advantage of the Miramichi special. After 12 o'clock noon, you get money off. After 3 o'clock, you get even more off. And you still get the same great golf course with 5 different tee boxes. So you get to choose the challenge. And the beauty's consistent, particularly that back 9. Meandering stream, waterfalls, in the woods. Great golf. You just can't beat Miramichi, and it's just 12 minutes north of downtown in Woodstock. Plenty of shade, plenty of water on the golf course, best practice facilities that there are for any public golf course. I promise. Go check it out. You'll love the experience. Miramichi. And you can thank me later. Brian Tankus joins us now. Okay. We've been talking about the makeup of this team. We know now David Jones, papers are in.
Mm-hmm.
Is he here yet?
So he's not here yet. I believe he's going to join the team at some point next week. But, we've talked about it a lot this offseason. There were a handful of guys that had to finish up some academics, had to get some things straightened out, especially for David Jones. I believe he was trying to graduate from St. John's before transferring. And so couple weeks ago when they went down to the Dominican Republic, played him on that Dominican national team. He made a point to go over to Jason Munns and Parthu Badaya and say, tell Tiger fans not to worry, I'm going to be a part of the team. And sure enough, yesterday we got the news that he is officially signed to the team and he'll be with them. Like I said, I think at some point next week he'll join the team, which is huge because we saw what he did for the Dominican national team in that exhibition. I mean, he was really good, especially in the second half. So I think he'll be a big addition to this team.
Well, and I saw somewhere where Malcolm Dandridge registered for school.
So it's interesting because that's kind of the big rumor that was out on Twitter or X, whatever you call it now, yesterday, is that he was in the directory for the University of Memphis. And so a lot of people were saying since he's in the directory, that means he's registered for classes. That means he's a part of this team. And it could mean that, but Parthu Badaya...
Wait. If that were the case... Wouldn't the university have published through a Twitter account or on the website, GoTigersGo.com, Malcolm Dandridge rejoins the fold? We did not see that.
Yes, exactly.
Somebody told me also in that register is KO,
That's right.
who just signed with the German team.
Not only KO, Keontae Kennedy, who's now at Cal, Chandler Lawson, who's now at Arkansas. I believe there might be one more person that I saw someone point out on Twitter yesterday that are all in the directory. So just because he's in the directory does not mean he is registered for this year's classes or that he's going to be a part of this Tiger team this year. But I mean, when you start to look around, it's getting thin. I mean, what is today, August 18th?
Yes.
So we're getting really late in the game. I know St. Louis was the school that he visited last week
I thought
St.
they're
Louis.
full.
They are. They filled their last roster
So
spot
West
last year.
Virginia, though, is a place
West
he could
Virginia's,
go?
they got another commitment yesterday from Noah Farrakhan, who's a guard. I don't know what their roster kind of looks like in terms of numbers. I know they had a handful of guys transfer out with the Bob Huggins situation going on. So I'm sure they have a couple roster spots still open. I know Michigan was kind of in there. I'm not sure how their roster looks right now in terms of numbers. But those are really, in Western Kentucky was the other team that really seemed like whenever you would hear people talk about teams in on Malco, those were kind of the teams that were really in on them. So, but I mean, we're getting really late in the game, and a lot of these teams are filling up their rosters, and it just seems like as the days go by and Malco hasn't committed to another school, it just seems more and more likely that he'll be back next year.
That is interesting to me. I don't know if a lot of this is predicated on if DeAndre Williams comes back. You really don't need another big. If you've got Williams, Jordan Brown, and frankly, Nick Jourdain can play that 5 spot if you need him. So I don't really know where this is going. No, Penny has a long-term relationship with Malcolm, so I don't know how that all ends up in the long run. I do know Memphis thought they could have heard yesterday or today about DeAndre Williams. You know, we can sit here and say, well, yeah, sure, it's going to happen. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've been saying that for a while. Is with the NCAA, you really never know. I mean, I can remember just in the time Penny Hardaway has been the head coach in Memphis, a couple of times where we've been sitting here waiting for the NCAA to make a decision, and we all feel really good that it's going to go one way, and then it goes a different way. I mean, with DeAndre, he had to sit out half that season after not getting a waiver after transferring from Evansville. So, I mean, we've been here before with DeAndre. I know that they're really confident they'll get an answer one way or the other. Like you said, we could have gotten it yesterday or today. Next week is really, I heard if it's not this week, it's going to be next week. So hopefully soon we'll know an answer one way or the other. I saw this the other day and I thought it was interesting. Me and Jay Morgan talked about it a couple days ago on Sports Time. Bart Torvik, which is a analytical website. It's kind of like KimPom, really basically the same thing as KimPom. A little more, you can customize it a little more than you can on KimPom, but if you add DeAndre Williams to this team right now, Bart Torvik, which, like I said, very analytical, so it looks at adjusted offensive efficiency, adjusted defensive efficiency to kind of rank all of these teams. Right now, they're 32nd in the country, according to Bart Torvik. If you add DeAndre Williams to this team, how it's set up right now, they would jump from 32 to 9 in the country.
I saw that.
So
I didn't realize it was 32. I thought it was in the mid-20s.
32.
But I knew it went to number 9,
yeah,
which would make you a 4 to 5 seed.
Right.
Which you would take immediately.
Any day of the week, absolutely.
Do you think if DeAndre Williams signs that Malcolm would really consider coming here?
I mean,
why wouldn't he go somewhere else? Why wouldn't he want to see the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, who knows with Malcolm? I mean, I think there's a couple ways you can look at it. I mean, I think obviously in Malcolm's mind, he thinks he can start at a school and be their starting center. But also, I think you could maybe sell to Malcolm if you really want him back, if you're Penny Hardaway, that you can come back. You've dealt with a lot of injuries. There have been spurts where you've been healthy, but because of these injuries, you haven't been able to go 20, 25 minutes a game. You could come in, be a backup center, and give us 10 to 15 minutes a game and be really efficient while you're out there for those 10, 15 minutes and play on a team that has the potential to be a really good team. And maybe that to Malcolm is, as a hometown kid, being here in Memphis his entire life, playing for the Tigers his entire career, that might be enticing to him. Maybe he sees, hey, I've been banged up and I could be a good piece off the bench for a team.
We're a couple of weeks away from Memphis and Bethune-Cookman.
Yep.
What aspect are you most curious about with this football team? And I'll admit mine right now because I think it's the key to the year. Offensive line.
Yeah.
If this offensive line is better than last year, I think the skill players are there. I think you got the running back. I think you got a couple of receivers. You didn't know how good they were. I think Rock Taylor is going to be a guy. If he could be a great possession receiver. Looks like we got a kicker. Looks like we got a punter.
Yeah.
Got a lot of different things. I know it's going to be with Simeon Blair back there to replace Quindell Johnson. Second year under Matt Barnes' tutorship here. I believe you've got a better defense. The one area that has lacked for a while now has been offensive line. You made a change at that coaching position. That, to me, the most intriguing of all the spots.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple. I think the offensive line is definitely probably the biggest because when you go back and look at some of these successful Tiger teams, they've all been run-driven. And not only have you had great running backs back there, you've had really older, experienced offensive linemen to block in front of them, and you kind of hear the coaches from those teams, some of those running backs from those teams really say, this offensive line is a big reason why I'm having a breakout season or why our run game has been so good this year. So I think offensive line is big. Like you said, they bring back a lot of guys from that offensive line from last year. They bring in a couple of transfers that can give them depth. But I think also that running back position, who kind of emerges as that lead running back, you have probably 4, maybe even 5 guys that you could choose from to be kind of that main back. I know Ryan Silverfield has kind of liked to go by committee the past couple of years with how much talent he has.
I don't think he wants to go committee. He just has gone committee.
Yeah.
Brandon Thomas has been injured. I think if we're picking a perfect guy, based on everything Ryan Silverfield has said, Sutton Smith.
Got to be the guy. I mean, he's young, he's explosive.
He's talked about him like he talked about Kenny Gainwell, for goodness sake.
Raves about him. I mean, when you talk about one player that Ryan Silverfield has raved about, it is Sutton Smith. So I think he's probably your guy, so I'm interested to see how that running back group plays out. And also the interior defensive line. You've added a lot of transfers at that position, some transfers from some Power 5 schools, and so I'm interested to see who can emerge from that group and what that defensive line looks like as a whole.
Almost here.
Yep.
We'll talk about it next Friday. Thank you much. That's Brian Dacus. That'll do it for us. This final portion of Wolo and Friends is brought to you by the good folks at the Spirit Shop. Yeah, the weekend's here. And it's going to be a big weekend. Last hurrah. Well, maybe the first hurrah for high school football. Last hurrah before we get into college football. So stock up and go see Eddie Connor right at the corner of Poplar and St. Nick, right in the heart of East Memphis. You passed by a million times. Little log cabin right down from Clark Tower, 4848 Poplar. Can't get any more convenient than that. And then you walk in and you can get an education on all the spirits. He's got them all, from rare bourbon to middle-of-the-road wines. He can tell you the next up-and-comer, kind of like an investment. And he just loves talking and also just helping you out. It's a great combination to stock up. Easy locale, great service, great price. It's the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Johnny Radio is next.
Homer Skelton